Hi, I'm David Sanders,
I'm Barbara Ellman.
and we're here, two couple therapists who are continuing to be engaged with our couples during this coronavirus crisis. And we really would like to share with you what we're learning from our couples and what is helpful to them, and best practices, how to handle your relationship in the best possible way.
When Dave and I have been talking, what we realize that keeps coming up is that couples now have to make explicit agreements where in their past there was a kind of rhythm of their lives and it worked for them. And now there needs to be agreements about space, time, tasks, negotiating throughout the day perhaps. And so that's the first thing we want to talk about.
Really, this is a bit of a crash course for all of us.
Right.
We're both couples too in relationships, and there's a lot to deal with. The circumstances of finding yourself now, for most folks, both at home, with or without children, and trying to understand how to figure out the day. It's a day by day work in progress. But as Barbara said, it's really important for couples to right off the bat discuss with each other, what is the day going to look like, what is the days going to look like, and what's the week going to look like, and to come to an agreement about how that looks.
You know, when you said that, I just realized, because of all the people I've been talking to, is whether or not there's an agreement of how to handle the pandemic itself in terms of shopping, in terms of walking outside, in terms of who goes for the errand, how you bring the things inside. So I guess from my point of view, the first agreement would be, how are we handling this together? As if there are children, the executive team needs to be in agreement of how we're managing our household response to this pandemic.
I think we kind of talked with each other about that sometimes couples don't even see eye to eye
Right.
about the seriousness of this virus. One person in the couple may be highly anxious, and the other person may be more laissez-faire about it. Or I was dealing with a couple last week where the wife was saying, "I don't even get this whole point of view. What's the big deal? 70% of people are going to get it, so maybe we should just get it." And the husband, on the other hand, was adamant about there needing to be even more strict,
Yeah. Yeah.
not wanting to even venture out at all and only have necessities kind of delivered
Yeah.
to the house.
It's interesting because I think by highlighting in our first segment about agreements, it forces a couple to really pay attention to the fact of, is there an agreement? Is there an agreement? We're not agreeing yet. You're talking this way, I'm talking this way. There is, in fact, no agreement. So there's no practice, there's no application, there's nothing to test out or examine. How did we do this week? Well, utter chaos, which is true of a lot of, the beginning stages of this. But now, for a lot of people, we're in week 3. And I think that the notion of sitting down and formalizing and making explicit an agreement about a whole set of categories would be a best practice in any household.
So just to be clear, what we're already advising is, if you haven't come to some agreement,
Right.
which can include, by the way, some compromises, but if you have not come to some agreement, that is priority number 1. Sit down as a couple and come to a working agreement. It doesn't mean that it's written in stone. It can evolve, but you still have to have a plan and act on it accordingly. And then, as what Barbara just said, then you have something to actually see. Is this working? Is it working for you? Is it working for me? And then have a discussion about that.
Yeah, I think that it's that wonderful sweet spot when some of us used to play tennis when we were younger, before pickleball. And the sweet spot is, we don't want to be rigid and we don't want to be in chaos. So we're trying to find that sweet spot, which means we're doing the best we can to come up with an agreement that we will live for a few days, and then we'll reassess, evaluate, and discuss it openly.
Yeah, and as in tennis, we're looking for love. All right, great. Thanks so much.
Bye.